because you can perhaps take a seat first. I was asked actually to make a bit presentation, so this is going to take a little while to present a little bit about Indonesia and what we're doing at the moment. So this is all for our Czech delegation. We hope this information will be useful for you. So I want to start by just giving you an Indonesian overview in terms of we are the home of 250 million people. As you know, big population. We have more than 17,000 islands. And we have around 1.9 million square kilometers of land, around 80,000 kilometers of coastline. And we are considered the largest archipelago in the world. And if we look at our economic overview, we see here that we are the world's 16th largest economy at the moment, with GDP around 900 billion US dollar. And the following graph shows that the GDP growth in Indonesia in the last 12 years, which indicates the stability of our economy compared to other developing countries. And it's also proven with 25% debt to GDP ratio that is classified as a country with healthy economy. We also have 500 billion US market opportunity available in the following sector: consumer, services, agriculture, fishery, resources, education, and many others. We are also $111 million of foreign exchange reserve. Now, this following graph is very important because I wanted to show you the data of what's happening on the trade and investment between Indonesia and Czech Republic. Unfortunately, this is not good news for us. If we look at the numbers from the 2013 to 2015, both trade and, yes, the trade is really decreasing significantly. So this is, ladies and gentlemen, a big issue. And this is our homework, all of us sitting here, is trying to solve how we can really support the government to increase this trade between our two countries. So if we look at in 2014 and 2015, Indonesia experienced deficit of trade, which is fairly low number of trade activities. So we are still in a very low number, and that low number is even decreasing. So this is the only way after this meeting is to make this number up. Agree, everyone?
Yes.
So as far as investment, there is a slight increase, but I think the number is also still very, very low. The next slide is about ease of doing business in Asia. Now I want to share with you what Indonesia has been doing. The ease of doing business in Asia is an important indicator to show that Indonesia, in the last 8 years, actually we have started from 120 and now become 109. And our president has recently informed us that even 109 is a still very, very high number. So we have been instructed by our president that Indonesia wants to have an increase of ease of doing business to number 40 this year. So we want to have an increase from 109 to 100, from 109 to 40. So that's our target. Now, what is the projection, the economic projection 2016? We have several forecasts, obviously, on the economic performance. There are three important trajectories. Firstly is the economic growth increases from estimated of about 4.7% last year to about 5.1% this year. And secondly, the inflation remains stable around 4.7%, unlike the condition in 2013-2014. Thirdly, there is a sign of improved trade and investment activities from private sector, which recorded negative growth last year, to about 5% growth in export and 7% in import this year. The economic projection is varied, obviously, between several institutions, but the market consensus in Indonesia expect lowest growth among other institutions. It might be the case that investment and trade will not be reviving so fastly as assumed by other institutions. and assumption will be well grounded in the fact that China's slowdown will likely be deeper than it seems at first. However, I think the relatively low projected growth by market player tell us an important message for our policymakers, that there should be greater effort being spent at increasing trade and investment. Any policy measures against the direction should be eliminated, and business and investment climate should be a priority. So this comes to the next slide on what is actually our government priorities at the moment. So as I mentioned, the first is obviously to improve the business environment. Chairman has indicated the government has just issued 10 economic packages, and this is definitely to improve the business and investment climate. Second is to optimize state budget impact on economy. The third is to improve infrastructure reliability and logistic efficiency. So this is the basics that Indonesia needs. Infrastructure. To promote food security and food self-sufficiency, to promote maritime economy, and lastly, to empower small and medium enterprises. Now, what's our investment policy? Other than the deregulation, that is right now government is doing a deregulation of a number of regulations, investment is the main target of the 10 economic policy packages. The reason is very obvious. Investment contributes about 30 to 35% of Indonesia GDP. Other than the GDP contribution, investment is also the key to job creation of Indonesia's huge population. Change in investment policy are centralized on improving the one-stop service of investment, licensing, simplification and mainstreaming of investment licenses, special economic zone to accelerate and concentralize growth in rural areas, DNI revision, and the engagement of core. So if we see here, it is very, very clear that Indonesia is trying to really cut licensing process with the one-stop service now at the BKPM, the Coordinating Board Investment. All the ministries are empowering and giving authority for BKPM issuing licenses. So this is something that government is very much paying attention to. The overall target is to reach 594.8 trillion rupiah of investment in 2016. And we are quite optimistic that we can reach this target. Despite the increased investment target, the government is changing the composition and distribution of the investment. By distribution this year, the government is targeting to distribute more share of investment out of Java Island. So all this time, the concentration has so much in Java that now the government wants to move also outside of Java. So it will be 51% in Java and 49% outside of Java. By composition, the government is targeting 65% of foreign investment and 35% of domestic investment. So clearly, there is many opportunity for investors to come to Indonesia at this point. We also like to share some of the government investment strategy, and we have segmented strategic investment plan for the year of 2015 to 2019. And if we see, there's a number of sectors that are priorities of the government. The power generation, you know, we have just launched the 35,000 megawatt. We have the labor-intensive industries, specifically in textile, food and beverage, and others. Import substitution industry, such as chemical, pharmaceutical, iron and steel. We also have export-oriented industry, downstream industry of natural resources, maritime and tourism. So this is really the priorities of the sector that the government are focusing right now. Now, if we see here, part of what the government is doing is also to incentivize. With some of the sectors, government is providing tax allowance and tax holidays for investment in these sectors. Next, we also want to share with you how the government is answering the challenge of connectivity project. Other than investment sector that worth to take note, infrastructure make up about 24% of logistic costs. Therefore, infrastructure improvement is very, very important. Our government is focusing on connectivity to reduce the cost through major infrastructure development. Here the plan is to have 63% increase on national budget from 178 trillion rupiah to 290 trillion rupiah, or equal to about $24 billion. And if we look at the challenge also on the seaport development, the plan is to have 24 seaports and Indonesia cargo flow estimate of about 8.8 million TEU. Next, also on the sea toll, it is an imperative to discuss how important for Indonesia to develop major infrastructure through street transport development, because Indonesia is a maritime country. So we can look at this, all the areas that will be connected through the seaport. We are also answering the challenge on airport and cargo service. Next. And finally, I also want to share the plan of the government on developing free trade zone and special economic zone. We have at the moment 4 free trade zones in Sabang, Batam, Bintan, and Karimun. Also, we have 11 special economic zone, 8 existing, it's already existing, and 11 will be developed in 2015-2019. We also have 15 industrial park with 79 existing ones. So through this special economic zone, obviously, again, there is facility, incentive, investor can go directly now, even licensing can be processed directly. So if you go to economic zones, you don't have to go through all the process, you can go directly for construction licensing also to, with specific economic zone. Now, we also have infrastructure development beyond connectivity. I think this is where interests some of you. On the water management, I think drinking water system to reach about 30.4 million household connection. Power and irrigation, 49 new reservoir, 33 new hydropower plant, irrigation network to reach 1 million hectare. Public housing and broadband, 5,257 twin blocks of public apartment housing, credit facility to about 2.5 million household, and broadband network to reach entire cities in Indonesia. So this is beyond connectivity. These are other opportunities as well. I would like to close by sharing a little bit of what we do in the Indonesian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We, Kadin Indonesia, is the only institution under the law #1 in Indonesia that is basically the umbrella of all the private sectors in Indonesia. So all companies are member of Kadin, whether that's state-owned enterprises or private companies. We have 34 branches all over Indonesia. We call our Kadin Daerah, Kadinda. And we also consist of about 200 members of associations. So we are here to obviously help and facilitate you to also come to Indonesia. We are here to also find partners and cooperate for you to cooperate with many of the local partners in Indonesia. Kadin have a specific business support desk that does this service specifically for investors. We also would like to share with you that we do a lot of also mission delegation, and I think this is something that definitely can enhance more on our bilateral cooperation, whether that's trade or investment. I want to also mention that Kadin at the moment also sits in many of the government working committee, and we do all regulation and policy before government issues them. They usually do a consultation with Kadin. We are also supporting the government in all trade negotiation. We are currently doing a number of free trade negotiations, comprehensive economic partnership agreement. Now I want to close with some tips of doing business in Indonesia. In that you need some tips. First is you need to find a reliable local partner. This is, I think, a key of the most successful venture. Second is to manage business in Indonesia, requiring a sound understanding of the cultural influence on hiring, training, and managing staff. And lastly, foreign businesses fulfilling their obligation to those living and working in their immediate neighborhoods stand to gain significant advantages. Indonesia is again open for business. I think we've just refined our negative list to be more open. So I think this is definitely a good time to come in, and we are here to help and support you. Thank you.